Have you tried to get around a rule lately? Did it work? Today, you'll learn what it means to get around a rule or a law or a regulation. Welcome to Plain English. I'm Jeff, and this is episode number 840. The full episode is at plainenglish.com/840. That is thanks to JR, the producer. Today, we'll talk about the English phrasal verb get around. This is an advanced expression. It's part of the advanced level at plainenglish.com, and it's a good one to know when you're talking about rules. You're not breaking rules, but you're not really following them either. Does your country have a lot of remote workers? Where I live, in Mexico City, there are a lot of digital nomads. Now, if you want to live in a country, you generally need a residency permit or a visa. But remote workers get around this requirement by saying they're just there on vacation. We talked about this in a story about remote workers and visas. A lot of remote workers try to get around the rules concerning residency. So that's how it first appeared in plain English. Now you're ready to learn how to use it.
Before we start today's story, I'd just like to remind you that the podcast is just one part of how we can help you upgrade your English skills. At plainenglish.com, you can make faster progress with active learning strategies. You can take quizzes, do activities, listen to the fast version of the audio, watch video workshops, practice what you learn, and even join a live call with JR and me. It's all about helping you build your skills to become a better, more confident English speaker. Sound good? Go to plainenglish.com to start your free 14-day trial today. Now, let's jump into today's story.
Today's expression is to get around a rule. We use this when we want something that's not really allowed, but we find a way to get what we want without directly breaking a rule. Most countries require a work visa or temporary residence permit if you want to spend an extended period of time working. Those permits traditionally required an invitation letter from a local employer. But remote workers worked online. They got around this by simply presenting themselves as tourists and working remotely. In most places, that type of work is not really against the rule. The digital nomads were able to work in the places they liked, but they didn't have to get a work permit. They got around that work permit or work visa rule. They got what they wanted without directly violating any rules. Here's another example. Let's say you're an American traveler and you would like to spend a year in Colombia. Unfortunately, Colombia lets Americans stay for 6 months out of any calendar year. In the year 2021, you can spend 6 months there. In the year 2022, you can spend 6 months there. That's too bad. You wanted to spend a year in Colombia. Is there any way to get around that rule? Yes. You can go there on July 1st and spend 6 months there, the final 6 months of the calendar year. Then you can go on a quick trip to Lima, Peru. You can leave on December 31st and come back a couple days later in a brand new calendar year. Then you can spend January through June in Colombia again. You've just spent 12 months in Colombia, but you haven't spent more than 6 months of any calendar year there. That's how you can get around the rule. You got what you wanted, and you didn't break a rule. You got around it. When someone asks, "Is there any way to get around that rule?" the person is saying, "I don't want to follow the rule, but I don't want to directly break it either." During the pandemic, visitors to Hawaii had to quarantine in their hotel rooms for 14 days before getting out and enjoying the island paradise. Not a great way to start your vacation. I'm sure more than a few tourists started wondering, is there any way to get around that? And yes, there was. Some resorts participated in a bubble sponsored by the local government. In a resort bubble, you get a COVID test upon arrival, and you cannot leave the resort. You can leave your room and enjoy the beach, the pool, and the restaurant, but you can't leave the resort. That way, you can enjoy Hawaii, and you don't have to follow the strict quarantine rules. You can get around the quarantine requirements that way. If you shop online, you might only have 30 days to return a product to the store. Oops, it's now been 33 days since you bought that new pair of shoes and they don't fit. Returns are no longer allowed. Is there any way to get around that? Sure, you can call the company and ask them to extend the return window. I think most companies would do that if you asked. There's no way around that. If someone tells you that, then you know you can't find any exception to the rule. If you show up to the airport for an international trip and your passport is going to expire while you're away, the airline won't let you on the plane. There's no way around that. You have a valid passport on that day, sure, but they're not going to let you go somewhere if your passport expires during your itinerary. In fact, they usually require your passport be valid for at least a month after your return. That happened to one of my colleagues. His whole family got to the airport for a trip to Europe, and my colleague had to stay back for a couple of days. His passport expired a week after his scheduled return, but they still didn't let him on the plane. I guarantee you he was asking, "Isn't there any way around that?" But the answer was always, "There's no way around that. There's no exception, no way to get around the rule." That episode came out in 2021. Since then, Mexico and other countries have realized there are a lot of remote workers getting around the rules. So they're starting to enforce the visa and entry rules more strictly at the airport. Well, there's no getting around this. You have reached the end of episode 840, but there's always more to explore at plainenglish.com. If you liked this episode, create a free account at plainenglish.com and we'll put you on a path to learn the best English expressions for your level. Take a quick survey when you get in, and we'll help you make English progress every day at plainenglish.com. Now, as for this podcast, we'll be back in your feed once again on Monday. See you then.
Listen up if you speak Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, or Turkish. One of the most frustrating things about listening and reading in a second language is being confused by unfamiliar words or phrases. When you listen to plain English, or when you read the transcript, you probably encounter some words you don't know. When that happens, you have a few options. You can stop the audio, go look up the definition, then return to the episode, find your place, and press play again, but that's exhausting. Or you can just skip it and be confused. That's no fun either. But what if you could see the translation of the word into your language instantly without having to stop the audio, without having to look anything up? Well, you can at plainenglish.com. For each episode, we translate about 100 words and phrases from English to 9 languages: Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, and Turkish. And we highlight those words in blue. All you have to do is hover your mouse over the highlighted word and you'll see the translation instantly. It works great on mobile too. It really makes listening a lot more satisfying, and it's a great way to expand your vocabulary in English. The best way to see these translations is to sign up for a free 14-day trial at plainenglish.com. During your trial, you can read as many transcripts as you like, all with the translations into your language. So sign up for your free trial today at plainenglish.com.